morning, everybody. Welcome to today's 1 million by 1 million online rendezvous. 1 million by 1 million, as you know, is the first and only global virtual accelerator for technology startups in the world. Our mission is to help 1 million entrepreneurs reach $1 million and beyond in annual revenue. And in support of that mission, we do all sorts of different touch points through which we interact with our community all around the world. So that is through these sessions on LinkedIn, Facebook, and Twitter. Welcome to all our listeners and viewers in all those three platforms. We also do free mentoring roundtables every week. So if you haven't checked those out, please do go to the website 1mby1m.com and go to the free public roundtable section, and you can sign up to pitch or to attend. And those are working sessions. I will work on your project during those sessions, and then you can check out our full acceleration program online as well. Now, in the sessions here, what I've been doing, what we call the online rendezvous, what I've been doing is answering questions that I get throughout our various touch points. So I monitor the Q&A very, very closely here, as well as elsewhere, everywhere, on all our different platforms. And we curate a set of questions to discuss in these sessions. So today, this is Thanksgiving week in America. So first and foremost, happy Thanksgiving to all those of you who celebrate. And even those who don't celebrate Thanksgiving in parts of the world where this is not really Thanksgiving, I think gratitude and the philosophy of giving thanks to people who deserve thanks, or to things in your life that you're thankful for, is a very nice thing to do. So I have written quite a bit on what I'm thankful for this week, and have started publishing some of that. You can go to the blog and check those out. Today, I thought we would do something fun. I curated a set of questions and ideas that are pertinent to the Renaissance mind. So the first question I'm going to answer today is why do you write so much about the Renaissance mind? So I do write, yes, absolutely. I do write extensively about the Renaissance mind. It's something that is part of my core belief system. So what I'm going to refer back to is a series of posts that I wrote, really diving deep into the philosophical premise of the Renaissance mind. And the series was titled Silicon Valley, the Next Decade. I first started writing this series back in 2011, so it's been almost a decade that this body of work has been alive in my mind. So let me take you back to that, and then we'll see where we go from there. So the way I started this is amidst incessant talks of bubbles and baubles, it is clear that Silicon Valley is back with a vengeance, no less. Innovation is back, leadership is back, IPOs are back. The technology industry has shaken off the post-dot-com malaise, the post-financial crisis malaise, and is once again exciting, very exciting. So now is perhaps a good time to stop for a moment and reflect on what this, coming era will be all about for the Valley and its denizens. And when I say Silicon Valley, I'm talking about a place, yes, but today Silicon Valley is more a mindset. So when I refer to Silicon Valley, I want you to also kind of make that mental extrapolation into the technology industry worldwide in general. And I will share my thoughts, but I also want to hear what thoughts this triggers in your head. And so feel free to jump in, ask lots of questions, and engage. And if you have sufficiently formulated thoughts, that we might offer you guest columns as well. So my philosophy of what Silicon Valley needs to focus on is best described by the title of Michael Dertouz's book, The Unfinished Revolution. The revolution that Dertouz talks about is in human-centric computing. Indeed, today today's open problems are not so much in the domain of chips and networking as they are in the more human-centric domains. For example, the technology that makes it possible for a digital worker in rural Africa or small town in India to work on data processing projects already exists. What do not exist yet are systematic methods of locating such projects and connecting these remote digital workers to them. There are methods through which workers are connecting to projects all over the world today. I mean, we have teams in the Philippines, in India, in all kinds of places, and I'm sure many of you do too. But if you look outside of the, maybe first tier, second tier cities in different countries, if you go into the rural heartlands, that's not something that has really penetrated deeply, and that's something that is very well within our reach, but it's that the last mile, human-centric education has not yet happened. Similarly, the basic technology for telemedicine does exist, but the socio-economic framework to connect willing doctors to needy patients around the world does not exist. In some of these areas, Silicon Valley has already played a phenomenal role. Kiva has created the socioeconomic model for crowdsourcing microfinance investments and matching them with projects. And Egypt's revolution is a salute to Facebook's role in the organization of a society's successful bid for democracy. Now, what happened post the Arab Spring is a different issue, but Facebook was very effectively used to organize revolution, organize protest, and organized protest in general is using social media extensively still. Our attempt to democratize entrepreneurship education, incubation, and acceleration through 1 million by 1 million speaks to the same philosophy of using technology to impact humanity on a large scale. So in this context, in exploring the possibilities for our future, let me revisit certain historical phenomena, especially the Renaissance. Although it can be difficult to pin it down in a definition, the Renaissance can be understood as a cultural movement that profoundly affected European intellectual life in the early modern period, beginning in Italy and spreading to the rest of Europe in the 16th century. By the 16th century, its influence affected literature, philosophy, art, politics, science, religion, and other aspects of intellectual inquiry. This is Wikipedia's definition of the Renaissance. Other periods of cultural rebirth and rejuvenation have also been termed the Renaissance. A notable one being the Bengal Renaissance. This one I'm very familiar with because I come from Bengal. I grew up in Calcutta. The Bengal Renaissance, again, Wikipedia speaks, the Bengal Renaissance refers to a social reform movement during the 19th and early 20th centuries in the region of Bengal in undivided India during the period of British rule. The Bengal Renaissance can be said to have started with Raja Ram Mohan Roy. His dates are 1775 to 1833, and ended with Rabindranath Tagore, 1861 to 1941, just before Indian independence. Although there have been many stalwarts thereafter embodying particular aspects of the unique intellectual and creative output. 19th century Bengal was a unique blend of religious and social reformers, scholars, literary giants, journalists, patriotic orators, and scientists, all merging to form the image of a Renaissance and mark the transition from the medieval to the modern. So that's one quote from Wikipedia. What was striking about the various Renaissance movements was the extraordinary degree of intellectual, artistic, and social achievement, and the tremendous cross-pollination among the leaders of those different disciplines. Leonardo da Vinci was a quintessential Renaissance man. This year is the 500th anniversary of Leonardo's birth. In fact, we're going to Paris soon, and we're going to see Leonardo da Vinci's 500-year exhibition at the Louvre. So anyway, Leonardo was the quintessential Renaissance man, An engineer, a painter, a scientist with a mind capable of assimilating ideas from multiple disciplines and pushing the envelope in multiple as well. That same capacity for acute observation, experimentation, and smart synthesis that is the hallmark of a Renaissance mind is in part the secret of Steve Jobs' success as well. Steve has drawn from art, architecture, design, sociology, and computer science to build the most innovative and exciting company in Silicon Valley and perhaps even the world. I believe that in times ahead, the style of thinking that will have the maximum impact is this ability to assimilate ideas from across domains and disciplines and apply them to innovation and entrepreneurship. Instincts already deeply woven into Silicon Valley's fabric and the technology industry's fabric. In other words, it is the Renaissance mind that is likely to create the most important companies in Silicon Valley. So this leads to us to a different question. How do you foster Renaissance thinking? Each period of Renaissance from history saw great congregations of talented people from multiple disciplines in certain cities or regions. Two prominent examples are Florence under the Medicis and Elizabethan England. Artists, writers, scientists, philosophers were in the same place, working close to each other, exchanging ideas on a regular basis. In contrast, Silicon Valley as a place, now I'm talking about Silicon Valley, the place, not just the Silicon Valley mindset. Silicon Valley is ill-equipped for Renaissance thinking. While we have great technologists residing here, we currently certainly do not have great artists or musicians collaborating with them, or philosophers. Over the years, I've spoken with art gallery owners who have complained that Silicon Valley's elite lack taste and do not buy art. If you look around, you'll see that they don't care very much about fashion or elegance either. The nightlife or entertainment venues are limited in scope and quality. Theaters, museums, concerts, everything operates timidly, weakly, with uninspiring social consequence in that they don't move people or move society forward as art can so often do. Even restaurants lack in sophistication if you compare them with those in New York, London, Paris. And the architecture of the valley is positively pathetic. The old ranch-style houses and fake French chateau or Tuscan villas are impressive in size, but not in any other way. No boundaries are pushed. There's no real achievement in the domain of architecture. There are a few pieces. Now, if you go to Bing, the concert hall in the middle of Stanford, Apple's spaceship, there are a couple of pieces of architecture that have come up that are starting to really make a big difference, but it's fewer and far between. One of the first things that I think needs to happen is a concerted effort to expand the social framework of Silicon Valley from a nerdville to a more well-rounded, sophisticated, and interesting place. Many of our nerds are absolutely brilliant. No contest on that topic. But to achieve brilliance in the next phase of Silicon Valley's history, they perhaps need to interact more with some liberal arts types. So, in exploring that question of how do you foster the Renaissance mind, one of the topics I have explored intensely is Renaissance patrons and the Renaissance salon concept. How could that happen, this interaction between different types of skill set, different types of minds? How could that happen in a natural way? To answer this question, we need to look at the models of the Renaissance patrons and the Renaissance salons. Lorenzo de' Medici, perhaps the most important Renaissance patron, supported and promoted artists like Michelangelo, Leonardo, Botticelli. Michelangelo, in fact, lived in his palace. Lorenzo commissioned art, helped artists to secure commissions from other patrons among the Florentine elite, and fostered an immensely productive art scene in Florence. He made it fashionable among his peers to support artists. thus making Florence a magnet for talent. Madame Marie-Thérèse Rodin-Geoffrin, on the other hand, was a quintessential Parisian salonière who became a leading figure in the French Enlightenment. Madame Geoffrin, her popularity in the mid-18th century came at a decisive time, and as the center of social life is beginning to move away from the French court and toward the salons of Paris. Instead of earlier 17th century salons of high nobility, her salon catered generally to a more philosophical crowd of the Enlightenment period. This is also from Wikipedia. She held dinners twice a week, Mondays for the artists, and Wednesdays were generally reserved for literary discussions. The organized schedule had important consequences. Again, from Wikipedia, Geoffrin, who acted as a mentor and model for other saloniers, was responsible for two innovations that set Enlightenment salons apart from their predecessors and from other social and literacy gatherings of the day. She invented the Enlightenment salon. First, she made the 1 o'clock dinner rather than the traditional late-night supper, the sociable meal of the day, and thus she opened up the whole afternoon for talk. Interesting, right? Second, she regulated these dinners, fixing a specific day of the week for them. After she launched her weekly dinners, the Parisian salon took on the form that made it the social base of the Enlightenment Republic of Letters, a regular and regulated formal gathering hosted by a woman in her own home, which served as a forum and locus for intellectual activity. This is all from Wikipedia. I did a lot of research trying to understand this phenomenon, and I'm basically quoting from some of those snippets. The patrons fostered and supported the artists, while the salons provided the forums for intellectual exchange. In today's world, one of the concepts that has drawn from these practices is the TED conference. Small, exclusive, personal, and elegant were more conducive to deeper engagement and relationship building than the large conference format, which I do not particularly like. So that's, from a framework point of view, that is one of the mechanisms to foster Renaissance thinking, promote the Renaissance mind. And then you have to also explore the question of money and how it is applied. Of course, the models I just discussed are predicated upon the fact that the patrons and saloniers had money and were willing to spend it on fostering a community of artists and intellectuals without directly benefiting from such an investment. This is not angel investment. This is community building. This is intellectual discourse. It is not something that you get a return out of in a short term or in a direct way. In Silicon Valley, we have plenty of money. There's no shortage. There will be more as the next waves of IPOs and acquisitions happen. It's happening constantly right now. We're also already a magnet for talented engineers and entrepreneurs because the Valley's wealthy shower investment on promising startups as angel investors. This is not a problem. However, I'm not so sure that the Valley's wealthy will put in the same efforts to foster intellectual and artistic discourse of the kind that can push us forward as a society towards something more sophisticated, elegant, and creative. This effort, if Silicon Valley's elite can rise to the challenge, will make the crucial difference. We do have the money here, but when it comes to social grace and talent, people are woefully unimaginative. For Silicon Valley, a social and cultural growing up is in order. If it happens, we can expect to see a Renaissance comparable to Florence under the Medicis. This, coupled with our natural flair for technology and entrepreneurship, will help us reach unprecedented levels of prosperity because the scale at which we can impact humanity today, right from our computers and mobile phones, is infinite. So that is my, reason why I'm writing so much about the Renaissance mind. Because I think if we foster more of this kind of thinking, a lot of the problems we are currently struggling with will find solutions. So I'm doing a whole lot of things that I will share with you today along these lines through answering some more derivative questions. One question I will answer is, why did you start the color series? You may have seen this. I am publishing a new series on LinkedIn called Colors to explore this topic that I deeply care about, which is the Renaissance mind. I'm just as passionate about entrepreneurship, technology, and business as I am about art and culture. And in this series, I will typically publish a piece of art, usually one of my own paintings, and I request you to spend a minute or two deeply meditating on it. I urge you to watch your feelings, thoughts, reactions to the piece, and write what comes to you. What thought does it trigger? Let's dialogue in the comments section. And I'm publishing this in all the platforms. Actually, I started it on LinkedIn, but I've now started syndicating it to our blog. I have it published on the Facebook. There's a Facebook page called Colors by Sramana Mitra. So you can catch it anywhere you like, and you can start engaging with me anywhere you like. But I am interested in interfacing with people with this kind of thought process. So I'll show you some of my paintings that we've been publishing on Colors. And I'll give you a moment to check it out. And we'll go to the next question. So while Maureen, who's helping me with this session, takes a bit of time to bring up the slides, let me take another question. The question is, how can we unglue society from the ubiquitous device? This is a very, very important question, right? So my take on this is, let's go beyond superficial virtual interactions and start thinking about creative, interesting, in-person interactions. In 2016, I started a literary group focused on serious literary works. We call it Caravanserai Literati. I've always been passionate about literature. One of the reasons I'm a good writer is because I have read an enormous amount of literature, and I have really had a passion for the use of language and communicating thought in elegant, beautiful language. Anyway, so this literary salon started a few years ago. And this endeavor, however, is a return to a serious study of literature at a level that I haven't engaged in since my last semester in college, when I read a dozen major literary works in a single semester. That was the spring of 1993. Today, there are 10 of us, all close friends, all cultured, accomplished, highly intelligent people. It has been the single most fulfilling literary growth experience of my recent years. Enrica and Pierluigi, an Italian couple, and our Polish-Armenian friend Joanna led us through Dante's Inferno, our first project in July 2016. We followed that up with the Mahabharata springing off Peter Brook's film and play, plus other ancillary pieces like the Bhagavad Gita. I led this one. The third project, which concluded in November 2016, was Nabokov's Lolita. Joanna led this session. I was talking to her about it. One of the conclusions I came to after reading Lolita was that I don't really want to ever write another work of literature unless I know for certain that I have a masterpiece in my hands. Nabokov did. The English language soars in his hands. Yet he was not a native English speaker. Neither am I, by the way. Although I've been speaking English since I was a baby. In this project, we also watched both films, the Kubrick one, the Stanley Kubrick one, as well as Jeremy Irons' version that came out later, which over the years I've watched at least 4 times. It's brilliant. Also brilliant is an audiobook that we listen to, and that's also read by Jeremy Irons, whom we love. We then worked on Omar Khayyam. Our Persian friend Ari led this one. The translation of Rubaiyat that we read by Edward Fitzgerald is based on one of the very few copies of the original that we found at the Asiatic Society Library in Calcutta, of all places. As you know, I'm from Calcutta. This was followed by Lucretius, one of the first century philosophers who wrote The Nature of Things in Latin verse, an exploration of physics and the natural world in lieu of explaining the inexplicable by divine intervention. In 2017, we discovered a French poet called Francis Ponge, and so on. So we read. My point is, we read since 2016 summer. We have read a tremendous amount of serious literature. Each time when we gather for the discussion, someone from the group hosts a rather elaborate dinner, and we have a literary salon. This is what I was talking about earlier. The discussions have been fascinating, and the multicultural perspective makes them thoroughly stimulating. The level of intelligence and rigor in the group is very high, so we're each getting a tremendous intellectual high out of this milieu. I share this with you to encourage the literature lovers to consider replicating similar frameworks to pursue your passions. Very often in quotidian life, we lose touch with the sublime. Our literary group has ensured that a steady flow of the sublime is present in our routine, and it has been an absolute delight. The other observation I have about life, after observing it for over 4 decades, close to 5 now actually, is that when people get together with other people without agenda, they end up talking about people. It consists of character assassinations, criticisms, gossip, rumor mongering, and a myriad other such not terribly appetizing tidbits. In contrast, the kind of gatherings I have described above are wholly constructive, focused on discussions about art, intellectual issues, and life that inevitably lead to personal and collective growth. And I highly recommend the framework. By the way, I've done this with theater, with cooking, with music, and with literature. And with each effort, I've experienced huge personal growth, created wonderful memories for everyone who participated in those experiences, and had great fun. Entrepreneurship, you see, is a way of life, not just a vocation. Okay, so I'm going to take a break, and Maureen is going to show you a few of the paintings from the Color series. And to see more, you can go subscribe to the Color series either on LinkedIn or Facebook or on our blog. All right, we'll go to more questions. And at this point, I want to continue with ideas on how to stimulate the Renaissance mind and formats for salons. We were talking about salons after talking about the philosophy, the premise of the Renaissance mind. We were talking about how to stimulate the Renaissance mind. And one of the things we need to consider is what would be a good antidote to social media addiction. And what I'm trying to do today is exposing you to models of interaction, of in-person interaction, or interaction where you actually engage outside of the device. The reason I'm showing you paintings is because I want you to engage outside of the device and start, using your hands and using the rest of the senses and the physical world a bit more, and not be obsessed about the device and social media addiction. So I've thought a lot about the world we're marching towards, in which virtual interactions and relationships far outweigh real in-person exchanges. The art of conversation, body language, human and humane interaction, holding hands, looking at people with meaningful warmth are fading away. And I write this for those who share my discomfort. I talk about this for those who share my discomfort on this topic. For the last 15 years, we've hosted art salons at our house in Menlo Park for Diwali, the Indian Festival of Lights. We usually have these on a Saturday evening. We first have drinks and hors d'oeuvres, then a sit-down dinner, followed by the salon. The house is lit up in candlelight. We have about 20 people. At the salon, people share music, poetry, photography, paintings, dance, theater, whatever captures their fancy. Some noteworthy examples over the years will help you appreciate the style of these exchanges. One year, our Israeli friend Lavi, who is also an excellent flamenco guitarist, and I rehearsed in advance and did a performance of Federico Garcia Lorca's poetry embellished with flamenco guitar music. Another year, our photographer friend William Carter, once upon a time a photojournalist for Life magazine, showed his photos of the Kurds in Iraq in 1965. The Kurds have been in the news, like you may have heard about them. The Getty Museum has acquired a large collection of these photos. Bill told stories and did a slideshow giving us a window into a world none of us have been to, really. None of us have been to Kurdistan. Bill's wife Ulla, over the years, has read through chapters of her in-progress memoir, which she has completed a couple of years ago. Her first husband was the bureau chief of the Los Angeles Times in the Middle East and was killed in the war in Tehran in 1979. Ulla's family in Germany also went through the world wars. She has written and read to us stories of her family's piano being thrown out of the window, of her time in Cairo as a young woman, and much more. A fascinating life story and a wonderful setting to share them in. Joanna has told stories of being hidden in a circus in Armenia behind the Iron Curtain as her family was plotting an escape to America. Another year, she read a story about a visit to Russia as a teenager to go on an archaeological dig. Storytelling is very much a part of the human experience, and stories help people understand each other, understand cultures, understand points of views, and we very much enjoy the storytelling aspects of these salons. Alain is a mathematics aficionado, he's a serial entrepreneur. He often speaks extempore about math concepts like infinity, the prisoner's dilemma, etc., and he speaks like a poet. The best way to describe his art is math poetry, and it's absolutely delightful. Emmanuel, who is a world-class sleep scientist at Stanford, also has a passion for archaeology. He has shared some of his precious finds. He goes on digs and finds stuff, and he sometimes brings them to the salons and tells us the stories of how he found them. Bill is also a talented and very experienced jazz clarinet player. He has performed solo and sometimes with Tony, who sings jazz. Eric has often sang Leonard Cohen, Simon Garfunkel, etc. with his guitar. More recently, the last 3 years, I think, he has written original songs for the salons. He and I even collaborated on a song. I wrote the lyrics. He set it to music and sang. I dance from time to time to Indian music. One year, I did a solo performance of D.H. Lawrence's Rocking Horse Winner. I don't know if you read this short story. It's a wonderful short story. And I did a kind of like a reading performance of the story. Bernardo, a talented Chilean architect, he's also the architect of our house, is a wonderful artist. He does slideshows of his sketches. Dominic and Ari showed their photography. They're both very talented photographers. Dominic is my husband. We have many friends who are painters. I'm a painter. Alan is a painter. Francine is a painter. We often show our paintings. Friend Fars Pratch tells stories from Indian mythology. What is the story of Diwali? Who is Kali? What is the myth of Kali? What is the myth of Rama? What happened? Why is Diwali celebrated? All that Pratt does a very wonderful job of storytelling. Sometimes I do as well. Kate, our investment banker friend who passed away a few years ago, she had a PhD in Spanish literature from Harvard and used to read a lot of poetry, including Dr. Seuss. She passed away, but Joanna and I still read a lot of poetry. Sarvan is a book artist and a damn good one. She has taught some of us how to make beautiful books. Dominique made 2 books recently, 2 photo books recently under her tutelage and inspired by her. And so on. A part of me fantasizes about art salons in various parts of the world that would harness creativity in small personal groups, facilitate friendships, substantive, sophisticated discussions, and an engaging communion of ideas. I am a bit tired of the superficiality and pettiness that most of society is steeped in. And social media has been a great amplifier of superficial interactions. It's time to stop and think what we are doing with ourselves. Our brains are turning into mush. Okay. I am going to show you, I told you I dance at Diwali from time to time. So we just had Diwali a few weeks ago. And I did dance, an Indian dance, an Indian choreography to a piece that I want to show you. So, Maureen, do you want to run the video, please, of the dance piece? Well, I told you this is a special broadcast for Thanksgiving. So I want to share with you one of the pieces that I wrote on the occasion of Thanksgiving. I try to write and think about what I'm grateful for every year during Thanksgiving. And I write what I call Thanksgiving meditations. So if you go to the blog, you can find more of these. But one of the Thanksgiving meditations I wrote was about dance. Dance means a lot to me. So what I said was my second thank you note. This is not the first thank you note. The first thank you note is about our house not being burned down. We had a fire in the house this year, and it was a very traumatic experience, but we have recovered from it and moved back to our house. But my second thank you note is for regaining something unexpected, something that I value tremendously. That is dance. I studied Indian classical dance since I was 4 years old. I stopped studying when I came to college in the United States. And in college, however, I choreographed and performed about 5 times a year. When I went to grad school to MIT, I stopped performing on stage, but I picked up ballroom and Latin dancing and had a blast learning to waltz, foxtrot, swing, rumba, cha-cha, and eventually I started studying the Argentine tango. MIT had a terrific ballroom dance club, and I made many friends with whom I danced 5 times a week. It was an excellent stress management mechanism that I kept up throughout my years of running companies. In the last 15 years, I haven't danced that much. Off and on, I would dance at a salon, like Diwali. Off and on, I would go to a milonga, that is an Argentine tango dance party. 2 years back, I went to Colorado to do a 3-day advanced Argentine tango workshop with Gustavo Navarra, one of the big names in the genre. I danced 16 hours in 3 days. My feet really hurt. When I wasn't dancing, I soaked them in a tub in the hotel room. But I managed to get through the entire workshop. I managed to keep up with what was being taught without being lost and without falling behind. And it felt damn good. So this year, starting in April, my school in India entered its centenary year. I had studied in that school for 14 years, K through 12. It's the only school that I studied at in India. The Schools Alumni Association for the last 2 years has been trying to pull together a centenary celebration. When we were kids in school, we had a wonderful tradition of house competitions. Just like Harry Potter, we had 4 houses, and the students were sorted into those 4 houses. We didn't have a sorting hat, but we had 4 houses anyway. Each year, we competed over a month-long period in various disciplines, from debate to drama to dance to sports. There were more than a dozen different disciplines across various age groups, and we competed in each of those led by a house captain. my year, I was the house captain, and it was an incredibly enriching experience in learning leadership. In fact, through that experience, I first discovered how much leadership talent I had. I loved working with a large number of girls, putting together performances, training sports teams, so on. For the centenary of the school, I felt that the best celebration would be to bring back that house competition spirit and put performances together. I offered to lead a week-long series of performances involving alumni from all over the world. The Alumni Association could not reach consensus to support my proposal. Organizational politics often hinder such institutions. It was disappointing, but I went ahead and orchestrated an all-day music, dance, poetry fest at our 17th century ancestral house near Kolkata. There was much that I found enriching in that experience. Working with a group of women, young and middle-aged, in a spirit that we loved so much as young girls in school was heartwarming. The process of collaboration using modern technology, Facebook, Google, WhatsApp, was interesting. The artistic choices using different forms of classical dance within the same song allowed us to do an ambitious program with no rehearsal. And finally, I got back to dancing on stage after 25 years. I'm going to show you a clip from this performance on August 18th, 2019. And now a troupe with talented dancers and musicians have actually organically and unexpectedly come together. You'll see this troupe in the clip that I will show you. We've so much enjoyed performing together that we're planning to do another program on January 18th, 2020. I'm really excited about it. This year, I've also managed to get back to my regular routine of dancing the Argentine tango. Once a month, at least, I go dancing the tango. I'm very grateful for the series of events that magically brought all this together. I'm grateful for the cast of characters who have brought dance back into my life so beautifully. I'm grateful also for my own physical capacity that allows me to keep up something that means so much to me. To all those of you who have contributed to this magic, my heartfelt thanks. And now we're going to show you the clip of our performance from August 18th, 2019 actually. All right, you got a flavor. The recording is available on YouTube, so you can see it if you're interested. But I just wanted to give you a flavor of of the range of activities that I'm trying to engage in and build communities around that are non-virtual experiences. And I think that is my whole point about spending today's live cast with you on this topic. So we are approaching the end of the session. I'm going to cover a couple of questions that are business questions. Today we kind of had fun and didn't do a lot of business, but there are a couple of business questions that I will answer. One of them is, we do have the 1M in Blackboard Social Good Startup Challenge on right now, and people are asking questions about it. The deadline is coming up. So let me quickly tell you, Blackboard is the world's leading cloud software company powering social good products. And we, 1 million by 1 million, we have just announced about a month or so ago the Blackboard 1M by 1M Social Good Startup Challenge. We're looking for social good startups to apply for the program. You can go to the website and to our website or their website and just do a search on Blackboard 1M by 1M Social Good Startup Challenge. You'll find extensive amount of information on it. This offers access, most importantly, it offers you access to the 1 million by 1 million premium program through a scholarship sponsored by Blackboard. Secondly, there are 45,000 Blackboard customers, some subset of which would be potentially accessible for you if you win one of these scholarships. And thirdly, there's a 5K to 25K grant that is non-dilutive, no strings attached. That is also for consideration. So look it up. And if you want to apply, please do. The application deadlines are soon. And then the last question before we adjourn today's session is, how can I get feedback from you on my venture? And for that, I suggest you go to our website. 1M by 1M offers free online mentoring roundtables for entrepreneurs looking to discuss positioning, financing, and all other aspects of building a startup venture. We have safe working sessions. We call them free public roundtables. Go to that link on the website and register to pitch or attend. Up to 5 entrepreneurs who register to pitch will be able to present your businesses to me, and I will brainstorm with you and give you advice on what I think you need to do. So our next one actually is tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. Pacific time. Please come. I would love to see you there and continue the conversation. And the one after that is going to be on December 19th. That's a Thursday, also 8 a.m. Pacific. So one or the other, those are the 2 remaining ones this year. We are approaching the end of the year and I'm traveling quite a bit right now. So anyway, I am glad that you came today. Thank you for coming and happy Thanksgiving. It was fun, I hope. And I will see you soon. Bye.